Hey everybody! Today, this is not my normal time, and many more places that I'll be broadcasting to you right now. Hey Wayne, how's it going? What time is it there? So, helping out with a special project today, helping out Zach and Adrian with a 22 a day special project today that is going to. I need to send a link to Zach. Whoops, that's going to help bring awareness and help bring like and knowing about some projects. It's so early for you, and knowing about some projects, so that I can actually let you know about what Zach's doing. And he's actually on his page. I put it on a banner. I'm going to put it on here. And I'm going to show it to you guys. And it's going to give the name of his podcast page on Facebook so that you can go on there. And all day long, he's going to be having 22 hours of podcasting from different members, different veterans, people telling stories of their experiences, people speaking out against, like suicide awareness, suicide prevention. There's a project that's going on that they're doing a fundraiser for. Hi, I don't know why it says Facebook user on everybody's name for some reason. There's a project that they're working on, and they're actually giving. They're doing a project to build housing and to build resources like maybe medical facilities and things like that, so that they can help veterans that don't have any help now that they need, resources so that they can get back on their feet, or they can get medical help and they can get medical supplies. Sorry, I'm sending this link out really quick. And there goes my watch. It's a little bit late, isn't it? It says it's 9 a.m. now and it's 9:04. So sorry, you guys. Bear with me for just 1 second while I send this link to him. He wants to put it on his page. So if anyone has any stories or anyone wants to come on, I was trying to have a guest on today. Her name is Donna, and she talked to me last night. She just came forth last night and kind of said that she really wanted to go on, but she was only comfortable going on if I went on with her. She didn't want to go on by herself. Hey, Dawn. Hey, Debbie. Yes, there's one that says, hi, Rosie, and one says it's for a good cause. And then there was another one that said it was early for me to be on. And I don't know who all of them are because it says Facebook user for some reason. But if anyone has an experience with uh, being married to a military member and having to fight battle with them, the inner battle with them of PTSD, depression, anxiety, um, paranoia, anything else, that they had to endure or go through, then um, feel free to join any time that I'm on here and share your story or whatever. I only have an hour to go, like a full hour that I'm going to be on. So I wanted to go over some things that sometimes that I do. Um, I'm a Navy reservist. I'm a second class petty officer, master at arms. I don't really, openly tell that all the time, but for a purpose like this, that I'm going to actually, at the moment, I am. It does say Facebook user. Hoover said, "My better not say Facebook user." It says mine. It says Facebook user. I don't know why. Um, but I am. This is my 12th year in October. It'll be 12 years that I've been in the Navy, and I do reserve duty at the moment. And my job is security. Hey, Joey, and police work. Sorry, I'm reading comments and then I'm reading this, and I have, a little bit of an attention span disorder, but I do have anxiety. I have PTSD. I don't have a lot of depression. It's more of an anxiety and PTSD. I try to fight as hard as I can against being depressed, but I do know that it exists, and I have been there in that dark hole. so I can speak to anyone that has, because once you get there, it's almost like you just can't get out. It's like a deep, dark hole that you're down in and you can't climb out of it. Like it's just slippery and you can't get out, almost like if you've ever been in a mud hole, a hole of mud, and you just can't get out because you keep sliding back down in it. And it really stinks. It is like a disease that devours you. Oh, thank you, Facebook user, thank you for saying thank you with the little hearts and stuff. So have you, Joey? Now, you can talk about it if you want to. That's what we're here for right now today, to bring awareness and to bring light and shed light, positive light onto the fact that a lot of us do think bad things. A lot of us get depressed. A lot of us get down. A lot of us get sad and get discouraged and feel like giving up and like there's no hope. I don't think that there's anyone in humanity that has not have had that thought at least once. I even know, I have a teenager, and sometimes she even gets discouraged and upset. I guess we kind of got into it this morning, and she said, "I'm sorry for being alive or for my existence today." And I told her, "I don't want you to be sorry." Oh, well, it says Facebook user, Jason. I don't know why. On the page that you're on, maybe it doesn't. I don't know, which page are you on? What page are you chatting with me through? Because I have all of these different places I'm going through. For some reason, it just says Facebook user. Yeah, toxicity it's usually what happens when you haven't healed what's wrong with you. Then you attract someone that's like that, and it's like basically you're both holding a toxic biscuit, if you will, and you're just tossing it back and forth to each other, because like attracts like. So not knowing that, not being aware of that, you can have whatever's going on with you or whatever's wrong with you or whatever you're struggling with, and it's apparent more than you know, and it doesn't matter because it's energy anyways. And even if you could hide it really well, which a lot of us can, you can hide it. It's still your energy. It is still your frequency that you are giving off, and your frequency that you're giving off is going to attract like a similar frequency, a similar wavelength. um, Healing is a lifelong journey. I feel like, because I have been trying to heal myself for a long time. I've gotten so much better though, with more resources and just like more meditation and looking and searching and finding things that you can do that help you realize that whatever that happened to you, if you could go back to that moment and tell yourself that whatever happened to you, it wasn't your fault. Hey, it wasn't your fault. Whatever happened to you wasn't your fault. Crap just happens in life, and we all go through stuff. We have, war, which we may have another one soon. We have inner war. We have spiritual warfare. Hey, Zach. We have, different groups of people, different cultures, different societies, different belief systems that want to push their beliefs on someone else, then belief systems that are, more loose, that let you, hey, Brenda, kind of choose what you want to believe. I'm a big fan of having free will, but at the same time, at the end of the day, like when you haven't healed, you're not gonna sleep well. Sleeping and getting good sleep is important to heal. Having a good diet, or at least taking some kind of nutritious intake, is a very important part of healing. And the spiritual life can be blocked if there is another person or thing that is, keeping you from blocking, or blocking you from moving forward on your path, like blocking you from healing. It's blocking you from getting resources, or blocking you from having the will to want to get up and the motivation to do so. So I had pulled up a thing on here because I wanted to show with screen sharing, and we had discussed it before how many suicides a day take place on active duty military in each different branch, and on inactive veterans, that might be retired, or they might be finished with their contract and they got out and they're done with their service, but they still, went to war, and their mind is still at war with them every day. And if your mind is at war with you and you're at war in yourself, then you're going to be at war with whoever you're with, and there's not going to be peace there. When I have a good, peaceful day and I have a whole entire peaceful day, I almost feel like a miracle happened. When it's been a good, serene, and happy, wonderful, positive, peaceful day. I even actually tell the God, thank you. I say, thank you, God, for letting me have a good, peaceful day, and letting me have this day and spend it on this earth above ground. Because in my past, I didn't think like that. Some things happened where I didn't think like that. I had a lady that was going to come on today, and I'll give, like, a tiny piece of her story, that she suffered tremendously, and she has PTSD very bad from a relationship that she was in, or she was married to a service member that had been to war. I think he had been on 2 tours, and he came back and he just wasn't right after that. He just wasn't right. And he was very violent, very angry, had a lot of demons inside that he needed to take care of, and I took it out on her a lot. And it was obvious. People could tell by the bruises and the beatings and stuff. She has very bad PTSD from it. And I don't say that to talk smack about a service member. I say that to talk and enlighten people about what you can go through and what the result is when you bring it back home and it's not healed, or you're not getting some kind of outlet or some kind of counseling help or care, or a doctor or medication. I'm not a huge fan of medication, but we all have to take some for something. So the point of that is that she had to struggle with him, and she had to go through that with him. And she now doesn't want to ever be in another relationship, has PTSD against, from men. She's scared of them because of what happened to her. And that's a result of, a wounded warrior that didn't get repaired. He didn't get fixed. He didn't get healed while her and he were together. Suffered from depression from a head injury. Yeah. A lot of people have head injuries. A lot of people have hearing loss. A lot of people have physical limbs that are lost. They have no legs. They have no arms. They have parts of their head or their face gone. I know a gentleman that got shot in the head and he had to get reconstructive surgery. I knew a gentleman that he was in a wheelchair and he didn't have any legs because he was in war. My dad suffered from PTSD severely, died alone. He had family, but he didn't stay with anyone. He just, near the end of his life cycle, when he was getting closer to death, he did make good with people. He did come around. He did start going to church. And I'm not saying everyone has to choose the same religion. In the military, you do have freedom of religion. And out of the military, you have freedom of religion. Here in America, we have that, right? But he did get right with God and started selling things. And it was like he was preparing things to downsize his life a little bit to make it less stressful and make things easier for him. Like maybe he was planning a trip to Lake Tahoe, and he had been talking to me about going to Lake Tahoe, and we never went there. So that's at the very top of my bucket list one day, is to go to Lake Tahoe. It's one of the places I really want to go, just to say, hey, Dad, look at me. I'm here. I made it here. And you're with me. In spirit, you're with me. So, hey, Lois, how's it going? This is my friend from overseas, my Scottish lady friend. Um, so it doesn't really matter what walk of life you come from, what kind of childhood you had, even. sometimes if you had a bad childhood and you never were in the military, that can still give you these PTSD symptoms. And we were talking last night. I was in a group chat talking to some ladies, and some of them were not even aware you could have PTSD if you hadn't gone to war, and you can. So you can be a military member, you can be a veteran, you can be a spouse of a veteran or a spouse of a military member, and still suffer with them. You're still going to suffer with them, whatever they went through. Advice: spirituality is the most important thing for you. Um, as far as advice goes, spirituality to me has gone the furthest for me to help pull me out of the reaches, reaching and grab me out of the darkest times. Hey, Joanne. And I myself am not a therapist. I do like to work with people and give them suggestions. And if I know a resource, I like to give that to them. At the bottom here, there is a website, communitypayitforward.us, and it's a 22 veteran suicide prevention website. You're welcome. And there are other links and stuff. This is being broadcast onto a page that I made a banner for. I meant to put it in the background here. But I made a banner for the reason that we're doing this today, and that I was asked to do this was by a friend named Zach and Adrian, his lady. Thank you very much, Lois. I appreciate you sharing that. And the project is to help bring awareness, bring enlightenment, bring a different, point of view and an understanding that's very personal on a personal level of those people that actually do come back, or they physically come back home, but they don't come back home. Mentally, they don't come back home. There's a war in there. Did you eat breakfast? Did I eat breakfast? Yes, I did. But they have a war going on inside of them, and some of them never heal. A lot of them don't, and those inner demons, as we call them, or the skeletons in your closet. The things that are going on behind the curtains that you don't tell anybody about, eat them alive, and it results in suicide a lot of the time. There are a lot of veterans that commit suicide. 22 a day is called 22 a day. Drink lots of coffee. Not yet. I would like to drink lots more coffee. Disturbed. I need to look that up. I probably have heard that song. I don't know who these people are. There we go. Zach is posting the link for the rest of the shows, because all day long you're going to have multiple people from different networks on here for 22 hours straight. And we're going to all be broadcasting for the same purpose. We're going to have guests on here. We'll have different people with different information. And I thought I was going to have a guest, but I didn't. So I wanted to pull up some information, maybe some statistics on how many people actually died from suicide that is veteran related or military related, how many people on active duty, and how many people off of active duty that are inactive, or they're retired, or they're just out of service now. I like to have that kind of information. I'm a researcher. The first sign of someone in trouble. Addiction usually ties in very closely. An alcohol addiction is very common, very, very, very common. Alcohol addiction and painkiller addiction is very common with veterans and active duty military. Alcohol being the way that they band-aid things to make themselves numb. Alcoholism goes hand in hand. It's a disease just like depression is. Painkillers, because of their wounds and the pain that they have to go through, it's very easy to just throw some pills at someone and cut their pain off with a painkiller, instead of actually digging deeper and spending lots more time as their caseworker to figure out what can work for them individually, because it's such a multifaceted or multidimensional thing that each person is not going to have exactly the same treatment plan. I've had to go to physical therapy, and I've went to several different places to go to physical therapy for a back and a neck injury, and now I have a stupid foot problem. I think it's plantar fasciitis. So that's new, but I don't let it get me down, and I try to do the best things that I can. The best things to do is to find resources. But some of the signs that you might see for people that are thinking about suicide is um, they have been really not happy, or they've been really antisocial lately, and then all of a sudden they they just really act like they have no care in the world, and they're extremely relieved and happy. I have not experienced this, but I've seen this, and it doesn't really make sense to me. But it's because they've decided to end their life, and it's almost like they've decided it's a relief for them and everyone else, and they're happy and planning it out, and they know when it's going to happen and when they're going to do it. They're just relieved automatically and happy that they're going to unburden themselves or take the burden off of themselves or anyone else. Obviously, people making remarks like not wanting to live anymore, people making remarks like they just want to sleep and never wake up, or they wish they were never born, or that they are sorry that they exist. And if they say, like, I wouldn't inconvenience the world anymore if I didn't exist, or I wouldn't inconvenience you and my family and my loved ones anymore if I wasn't here, then y'all wouldn't have to worry about taking care of me. I wouldn't have to worry about, um, looking after me, and you won't have to worry about me at all. I'm giving away belongings, especially things that they coveted before that are important, like their Xbox or their television or their camera, something that they used, or their laptop, something that they really, normally would have probably used a lot. If they start giving those things away, that's another sign that they're thinking about ending things. Um, Starting to be really, really isolated. And I don't mean like because of COVID, because they're told they have to isolate. Self isolation by your own choice, isolation away from others, and just not really wanting to do anything that they used to do anymore. They don't want to get up, and they don't want to go running anymore. They don't want to go to work anymore. They don't really care about eating healthy anymore. They don't care about doing things that made them happy before. That's another sign. It makes me want to cry just talking about these things, because I've been through it before, and I've seen so many people go through it before. Um, and then sometimes you don't even see the signs. So it's so important, I guess, to know more and more signs, as many signs as you can, because I've had someone literally call me that was very close to me. I didn't answer the phone because I was overseas and working on an island in the military, and it was a different time zone here. So he called me. It was my cousin. He called me when I was overseas sleeping. It was nighttime there, and I had to get up and work really hard the next day and get up very early. And I didn't know, he was going to call me. He called me at night, so it would have been daytime here. And the next morning, I got up and saw he had called me. And I tried to call him back several times, and he didn't answer. And I thought, well, it's nighttime there now, so I wish I didn't miss his phone call. But I guess he's asleep now. So I didn't think anything of it, and I got up, and I'm eating breakfast probably, or taking a shower, getting ready to go uh, do my duty. And my mother called and told me, yes, it is. Life is a gift. And I guess just getting to the point to where we realize that, and we know that every day, if you can have several days in a row just knowing that, you're doing good. Because happiness is a choice, but happiness is also a journey sometimes. But my cousin, my mom had called me and said that they had found my cousin, the one that called me, and he had hanged himself. And for a very long time, I didn't really know the signs because I didn't live near him. He lived 3 hours away. But for a very long time, I beat myself up about it for years. I beat myself up about it and blamed myself. And that alone can actually, when someone commits suicide, think of it this way. And I know that we don't, because you're also Yes, I do. Yeah. I also help counsel and bring awareness and training and stuff too. And I've had so much training in this because they do it at least twice a year. So if I've been in 12 years, I've had it at least 24 times for sexual harassment, sexual assault, and prevention of that. Thank you. And I'll answer your question right after um, what I was saying. Sorry, this is my fault because I have adult ADHD. When I don't remember what I was saying, but I will. I know I was talking about being depressed and having someone else. Oh, when someone else commits suicide, and I know that it's a very selfish act, and that might sound bad, but it is. It's a selfish act. Yes, it's a selfish act when someone commits suicide. In the most recent training that we had, they were teaching us that it's really good if you have weapons at home to put locks on your guns, because a lot of the time when someone is actually starting to carry out their plan for suicide, if they get sidetracked, distracted, or talked out of it, then they stop. So, and there's a small time frame for that to happen. And I think that shows the most with like jumpers in a negotiation, like a jumper situation. I haven't dealt with that before. I know a chaplain that dealt with that, and he told me about it. I won't give any people's names or whatnot, but um, I always had been very close to our religious petty officers and chaplains. And I don't know why death and suicide has been very like prevalent in my life. I have been like surrounded by lots of death, lots of suicide, but lots of spiritual and religious leaders and resources too, which I guess that goes hand in hand. But like I was saying, like suicide is it's a selfish act if you think about it. That if you're gonna like take your own life away, but you don't really think about actually, you think that you're gonna be relieving everybody, but it's quite the opposite. And I could name so many reasons. Yeah, a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And so many, like I could name so many reasons why it's actually, like going to be worse for everybody if you left than it's going to be better. First of all, and I don't mean to sound bad, but they're going to have to figure out how to pay for everything for a funeral. And I'm not trying to sound heartless because I'm not, I promise. But you don't think about this stuff until actually after it happens. And you're the one that is here doing it. And I'm not saying that that person is not worthy of having other more deeply thought reasons, but you'll have to find a way to pay for that person's funeral and everything else. You'll have to go through and figure out what to do with all of their belongings. The people that suffer that are left behind after the person commits suicide, the children, they may even blame themselves. They may blame themselves that they thought, that they were the reason, or they'll have issues the rest of their lives wondering why someone gave up on them and quit on them and left them behind with no parent or no brother or sister if you have young siblings. That's terrible. Yeah, you have to act before the suicide is before it happens. So realizing ways to get someone that might be thinking about ending their life to realize that that's not the choice and that's not an option is really the best solution. They don't really want to leave people behind sad and depressed and upset. They don't really want to leave their mom or their significant other behind with all of these bills that they can't pay or in poverty because they didn't expect this or to anticipate this to happen. At the same time, they don't really probably want to drag everyone down either. So really the best thing to do is to find all of, the best possible attempts and resources that you can get. And there is a website here, and then I'm going to hit it again. Zach posted it up here for the page that he's posting on. You're going to get lots of valuable resources today on that page as well. That's going to give you different explanations also what this project that we're doing is for and why we're broadcasting 22 hours today. It's not just only because we want to bring awareness, but there's also a project that they're working on there. They're trying to raise money to help build buildings for housing for homeless veterans and facilities to provide them with health care or medication or counseling and things like that. And I think they were trying to help them, like figure out how to get their credit cleaned up. And maybe even if they, think that they can go back out in society and that they can function, that they can actually work with people and socialize and get back into life. And then Zach can ask a question about sexual assault and prevention. I have a lot of training in that area too, and I've helped to do a lot of training in that area. And this is the link right there that I posted is the Facebook page that all of these 22 different hours of broadcasts are going to be broadcasted on. They'll be lined up there. But sexual assault and prevention training that we do in the military, and that I like to also keep aware with me when I talk to women out in the world, and not just women. There are men victims as well. I just read the other day about a man that was a victim of sexual assault. And when you have a very top heavy man powered military, there are more and more women now than there used to be, but there are still a lot of jobs that might be where you're separated with a lot of men. Sometimes that stuff happens there too, or in prison. The case that I read about the other day was somebody in prison or in jail that had been sexually assaulted multiple times. And I hear about that a lot because I read about criminals and prison and jail and stuff like that. But however, back to the point of my story is sexual assault and prevention. Zach had asked me about in that training if it says what is the outcome of someone that's sexually assaulted, and what happens if someone's been beaten, raped, or worse, tortured, or held in captivity, against their will, or impregnated and made to have a child, because we do get training for sex trafficking too, because when we go overseas, that happens a lot in other countries. But what can happen to the victim, I don't really like the word victim, but that's what they are. The victim is they don't want to live anymore because they feel like something was stolen from them and they won't ever get it back. Sometimes they have to stay in a situation or a place, a dwelling or a workspace where they're afraid to report things, or they're afraid to act out on and stand up for what happened to them and report it because they're afraid they'll get retaliated on. Sometimes they just don't want to get out of bed the next day. They don't want anyone to see them. They're disgusted with the way that they look in themselves. They feel like they're unclean or unholy or unwanted, or no one will ever want them again because it broke something in their spirit. And it's a very painful thing. And this happens a lot of the time with women. I've seen chiefs and other, higher up there's crying, saying how bad it hurt them and how hard it was to get back to being normal or somewhat, close to normal, and try to live and still go to work every day without thinking about ending your life. Um, so that being said, uh, that's not exactly what my guest told me, but I'll probably come on later with my guest Donna, and she wants to tell about basically a domestically violent relationship that she was in when she was married to a service member. So some of the things that you can do to help prevent people is to look out for those signs and look out for things that they're doing that are out of character. It's not that hard. Some people just don't want to. They don't want to ask. And you don't have to ask someone, are you thinking about killing yourself? You can ask someone in a different way. You can ask them, how are they doing? What have they been doing lately? And how are they feeling? And tell them that, you feel like they haven't been themselves lately, and just kind of lead up to the point to where that they can feel more comfortable telling you, and let them know that they can trust you, and don't go gossiping or talking about them for anything that they've told you, or releasing any information that they've said to you. Just make an opening and a comfortable situation for them to actually talk to you about it. Because most of the time, I'm not sure exactly why this isn't most of the time, people are not going to come to you and tell you something like that unless they trust you and they're comfortable with you, and they know you pretty well. Or maybe if you're like one of the religious leaders or spiritual leaders, or someone they look up to. So you really would just kind of like want to ask like how someone is feeling, or how they're doing, and what they've been going through lately, to just give them a plate to put whatever on that they want to kind of lead up to um, what your main goal is. You want to know if you need to worry about them. And if someone does say, hey, yeah, I've been having it hard lately, and I've been just thinking, the best, easiest thing to do is just to go out. If someone does say things like that to you, then try to remind them, or figure out why they think that, because it could be something as easy as um, a misunderstanding, or a misinterpretation of something, or something that's always fixable. Everything is fixable. Suicide, a successful suicide, is not fixable. Everything else in life is fixable. You can move to another house. You can get back on your feet. You can start life over again. You can bounce back. You can have another relationship. You know, I think a lot of times some people really suffer after they lose a child. I'll say that's one of the other most painful things that I think I've seen people go through, is losing a child, and they just really aren't the same after that. Things are difficult, yeah, but I don't know. I guess after I was a teenager and I thought about that kind of stuff, and I realized once I had my first child that the best way for me to combat those thoughts was, and it might not even sound realistic to everyone, but this is just what I did. I just told myself that I didn't want the darkness to win, and the darkness was going to win if I did that. And I didn't want to go have my children to not have a parent, because I thought of any struggle that I could think of, and any bad thing and hardship that I had when I was growing up, you know, being in a house with 7 kids, and kind of struggling. Like, our parents gave us the best they could, but I always made it a point to tell myself that I would, if I ever had kids, I'd give them better than I had. And I really just reminded myself that, like, they didn't ask to be brought into this world, you know. I brought them into this world. It's my responsibility to take care of them and make sure that we may never be rich, but at least that I teach them good values, and that they have things that they need, and they get some enjoyment out of life. But putting gun locks on guns is a good thing to do. And they even gave us a lot of gun locks at these meetings where we went to, like, anti-suicide prevention meetings. Um, Making sure that a weapon is not loaded, taking the magazine out, making sure there's nothing in the chamber, take the magazine out. If you know someone, or take their weapons and just put them up for them, and lock them, at your house in a drawer in a safe for a while until they get better. And if they have knives, do the same thing. If they have medication that they're very likely to abuse, talk to their doctors about it, or talk to them about it. I've also had a family member that does that abuses medication, so it has to be actually guarded from them. And these people are not even always going to be cooperative with you, I promise. That's why sometimes you may have to go to someone like their provider, like their doctor or something like that, and talk to them. Or you can call social services a lot of the time if it's something that has came through the pipeline of social service. um, uh, Check and what's their situation, what's their access to different things that can hurt them or harm them. And I'm not saying you spend every second of your life um, hovering over someone that you think is thinking about committing suicide, but just you might be the only one that knows, and you can report it to someone else to keep them from doing that. You could talk to their spouse, you could talk to a counselor if you're in the military or out of the military and you have resources to a VA. You can talk to someone there. If they're in the military, you'd report to their chain of command that they're going to harm themselves and they're threatening to harm themselves, so that they can make sure that doesn't happen. You might yourself they may just want someone to talk to. That might be just how simple it is. A lot of the time, you're welcome, Joey. People just want someone to talk to, and you might not be able to be there for them every day, but you can be there for them sometimes. And it might actually be that you were meant to align with that person for a reason. Maybe you're a crappy listener. Maybe I've learned stuff like this too. Maybe you're not a good listener. Maybe you need to learn listening skills, and by sitting and listening to them, you're actually gaining something too out of it. I want to pull up something here. You're welcome. It was, I'm going to screen share. It was off the Military Suicide Awareness 22 a day page, and it was saying like how many people actually a day kill themselves. And I think it says active duty and veterans that are not active duty anymore. So here's this. And this is photos of people that actually are like pretty young that have committed suicide. It's crazy. Like, look at this gorgeous, wonderfully gorgeous girl and that really nice looking guy. It just stinks. It doesn't matter that they're nice looking or not. Nice looking is like they look like the light of the world. Look at them. Register. There's a place you can join and register on this militaryveteranproject.org website. This is not the website I'm advertising though on the banner. 22 a day movement is an advocacy action network and the natural next step to the mission of the Military Veteran Project. Save a Warrior Challenge. It's a bunch of links that you click on for registration. That's not exactly what I'm wanting. I'm wanting the numbers here to know how many people a day, and it's on here somewhere I read. Here you go. Oh, wow. They do brain research. That's interesting. Treatment advocacy, get involved, transitional research. Where's the statistics? I may have to Google it elsewhere. Hundreds of families facing struggles. 22 a day brings awareness to issues of concerns of hundreds of other families facing struggles. Hmm. 4th Squadron Troop, 4th Cavalry, Fort Riley, Kansas, Task Force Spartan, when he was shot in the neck on April 10th. Oh my goodness. Oh, I don't see the numbers. I wrote them down here. There we go. Wait. I wrote them down in this notebook too. Currently, PTSD affects an estimated 2.2% of the population. That's 7.7 million people. And it can be military related, war related, or not. Anything that's caused trauma to you that has a trigger and a response afterwards is PTSD. So if you've been jumped and beat, if you've been attacked, if you've seen something happen, like someone get shot, if you've been sexually assaulted, abused, or raped, If you've been at war and been shot at, or shot at someone else, or saw other people get shot and killed in a war zone, those things can cause PTSD. Um, it says, once only known as shell shock, a vague condition affecting war veterans, PTSD is now recognized as an anxiety disorder brought on by a traumatic event. So that can be literally, really, almost any traumatic event. It does not have to be only a war veteran, but it is more prevalent in them, and it is worse usually. The effects can be devastating. The woman that I talked to last night that I want to try to bring on sometime today, she said she wakes up screaming sometimes, and people and her neighbors hear her and don't know how to, what to do about it. 11 to 20% of veterans of the Iraq and the Afghanistan war. That's 300,000 people just from those two wars that have PTSD. 10% will develop PTSD in their lifetime. 5%. 10% of women, 5% of men will develop PTSD in their lifetime. And then both 55% to 70% of the population will experience a traumatic event in their lifetime. And it's strange because that's just such a big umbrella for you. Like anything can actually, a lot of different things can cause trauma. I had a trauma experience when I was a teenager, and it was being in a really bad wreck that I shouldn't have made it out of. I don't really know how I survived it. I can't tell you. If you saw the wreck in the car, you just, it wouldn't make sense. But I always have a fear of going quickly, driving around curvy roads and hills and stuff. Anything that's curvy, I can't drive fast. 7 to 8% of the population is going to experience PTSD at some point in their lifetime. While there are effective treatments available, many people, especially veterans, do not seek or receive help for the condition. And that's the biggest problem. I went to a funeral of a fellow sailor, and the biggest problem, like his wife was there and said, "Yeah, hey, how are you doing? How are you doing, Rosie? How are you doing, Sam? Sorry." She said, "Hey, Rosie. Hey, Sam." The biggest thing that his wife would say is that she tried to get him to get help. He came off of active duty orders and came into the reserves, and she tried to get him to get help. And he was such a nice person. He always wanted to do so much for everybody. And I think that he didn't find enough to do because he was so used to going and doing and serving and sacrificing that he just needed that same feeling. I think he got out of the military to be with his family because he had a new baby. So he really wanted to be there for that, but his mind, something in him, couldn't accept the slowdown of the non-active duty military life. Thank you, ma'am. I usually have a guest on here with me, but that's okay. If I can get Miss Donna to come on later, I will. And talking to more people. I know sometimes, since we have been separated from each other quite a bit this year, a lot of us have, and last year, mostly last year, we haven't been as social, and we've kind of gotten lazier, um, more lethargic, more antisocial because of having to be confined and staying inside to not spread the coronavirus and its, transmutations or whatever. Thank you, Zach. And its transmutations, that we've seen so far, or mutations, whatever you want to say. Oh, yeah, if you want to, that's fine, yeah. That's good. Yeah, if you have another slot, I messaged Adrian and asked if you have another slot for later. If I can get with Donna and bring her on later, that'd be awesome. Or if you want to come on, or if we want to be on there at the same time, then that's fine too. Hopefully she'll come through, but with, her PTSD, she might she might kind of change her mind. She might get afraid. She might get upset. I think, though, she really had decided to come on as long as I could come on with her, she said. So hopefully we'll talk to her later. But that was just a thing that was saying, like, basically the percentages of people in there. It was even including non-military members and non-veterans. All right, awesome. And then on here, I'm going to pull up something else that I'd seen. My tummy. Also, I usually get statistics on police officers and other people that are in that kind of job field and how many deaths by weapons that they have that day. So if anything ever came up like that, like, I'm not against gun laws, or I'm not like an anti-gun person. I mean, like, ending violence or ending rioting and things like that escalate to the form of being violent, or the resort to being violent. I don't think anyone shouldn't have the right to say what they want, their freedoms of speech and stuff. I'm all for that. All right, here we go. This is recent. Yeah, it's 2021. Military suicide rates are at an all-time high, and here's how we are trying to help. Let's see. This is the USO. And I've seen lately some newspaper articles with um, Ukrainian business on the front of them, things that are happening over there. I don't know why it always wants me to do something. Just want to look at the website. Suicide rates among active duty military members are currently at an all-time high since the record keeping began at 9 after 9/11, and have been increasing over the past 5 years at an alarmingly steady pace. In 2021, research found that 30,177 active duty personnel and veterans who served in the military after 9/11 have died by suicide. Jesus, that's a lot. It's 30,177 active duty, compared to 7,057 service members that were killed in combat in those same 20 years. Jesus. Oh. So I'm not a brainiac, but 30,177 died from suicide, and 7,057 of them died by being killed in a combat, in combat, in the last 20 years. That's kind of crazy. I mean, those numbers might change soon, though. I don't want to take away from, like, the different websites and stuff that Zach's using, though. So to not distract you and take you elsewhere to other websites. Um, I do put out one website, though, like one source, because um, it's been instilled in me for the last 12 years. But military one source, military, no space, the word one and the word source. Military one source is a very good place to go to get any active duty, or even if you're a civilian contracted ex-military, like a veteran. They will help you, your family, with like anything that you need help with. And I think, but I'm not sure, they'll help veterans as well, or resort you and point you to a direction to where you would come in contact with Zach then. So, what's a new person? Hey, Gary. Hey, Howard. I was wondering if you were awake yet. I thought of asking Howard to come on here this morning. What time are you coming on here, Howard? How's it going, Gary? Thank you, Zach. Yes, I listen to this all the time. Yeah, fighting in their head. carry it with them throughout their lives. Often, if not most, are always alone and feel singled out, and no one understands them. In their head, they hear the war within. And I know I had told my mom at one point that I was meant to be alone and I was going to die alone. And my dad, being um, a Vietnam veteran, told me no, he did not want me to do that. He didn't want me to die alone. He didn't want me to be alone. And that he didn't wish that on me because that was his life, and he didn't want that for me because he didn't enjoy it. Thank you. I've been awake and we will be on this afternoon and evening. I have a lot to say about suicide awareness. Yeah, he has his own, um, I don't want to say corporation, foundation. Howard has his own foundation for anti suicide. I also have a Facebook page. I only have 2 minutes left, but I have a Facebook page that is called SS Paranormal Unexplained and Unsolved Cases. Thank you. Hey, Carl. How's it going, brother? SS Paranormal Unexplained and Unsolved Cases. And I post people that are missing and that are not alive, or they're pretty much thought to not be alive, but they have not been found, or their bodies haven't been found, or their cases of how they came to be deceased haven't been solved. So if you guys want to check out SS Paranormal Unexplained and Unsolved Cases, um, if you're interested in something like that, please do so. And at the bottom here, I also have this website, and then it was posted by Zach earlier, and I'm going to hit on that one more time before we go. And then I'll have to wrap it up because there's another person coming on right after me. Where'd it go? Way up there. I may not get it again. That's okay. And if Donna doesn't come on with me later, if I can have an hour, I have someone else that'll come on with me. I got to get. So, Zach and Adrian, just let me know. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I'll have to go now. Thank you. You are welcome, and everyone have a blessed day. You're welcome, Gary.